In this video, I'm going to describe how to use a component named FlexNativeMenu. This is a Flex component that's a wrapper for the standard native menu object that makes it a lot easier to declare and use a native menu at the application level. For this demonstration, I'll use an application named Using FlexNativeMenu.mxml. If you're following along in the exercises, you can open this application file from the Chapter 07 Begin project. Open the application and take a look at the source code. There's an XML packet that has a root element and then two menu item elements. The menu item elements represent native menu items, each with a label. Within those, there are menu item elements as well. This is just XML, but notice that the format attribute is set to E for X. This is going to allow us to address each of the items within the XML content using E for X expressions. Now, to take this XML structure and pass it into a native menu, place the cursor after the windowed application tag and add a pair of MX menu tags. This will be the menu property of the windowed application component. There's a bit of magic that will happen here. You may remember if you watched the earlier videos that when you construct a native menu using ActionScript code, you have to determine dynamically whether you're going to add the menu to the native window or to the native application. That is, whether you're running on Windows or the Mac. When you use this architecture, you don't have to worry about that, because the windowed application component takes care of it for you. Now, within the menu property declaration, declare an instance of the FlexNativeMenu component. Set its data provider using a binding expression to the XML object myMenuData. You don't want to show the root element of the XML, so set a property named showRoot to a value of false. Also, you have to tell the FlexNativeMenu object what element or attribute of the XML structure to use as its label. Set the label field to a value of @label. This is an E for X expression that says each element has a label attribute from which we'll get the label value. That should do the trick. Go ahead and close the tag and run the application. Now, if you're running on Windows, as I am, you should see that the menu appears as a part of the native window, and if you're running on the Mac, you should see the same menu appear at the top of the Mac interface as the application menu. Now close the application, and I'll show you how to handle the events that are dispatched when the user selects various items from the menu. When the user selects an item from the menu, you get an event named ItemClick. Add an ItemClick event listener attribute, and put in some ActionScript code to call a new method that we'll create in a moment, named ItemClickHandler, and pass the event object. Now go down to the script section and create that function. Make it a private function. Once again, its name is ItemClickHandler. And this time, the name of the event class that will be used as the event object is FlexNativeMenuEvent. Typecast the event argument as FlexNativeMenuEvent and return void from the method. And now place a breakpoint on the last line of the function. That is the function with the closing brace. Save your changes and run the application in debug mode. Go to the menu and select any item. I'll select the copy item. In the background, FlexBuilder may ask you to go into the debugging perspective. If so, click Yes. If it doesn't prompt you to go into the debugging perspective, but you're still on a breakpoint, just go to the debugging perspective manually. Now double-click the Variables tab to expand it to full screen, and examine the event object. Notice that the event object is typed as FlexNativeMenuEvent, and it has properties named Index, Item, and Label. The Label property is the label that was applied to the item. The item is the XML node that generated this menu item, and the index is the ordinal position of this menu item within its submenu. In this case, it's the first item, so index is set to a value of 0. Double-click the Variables tab again to restore it to regular size, and then terminate your debugging session. Go back to the Flex development perspective, and place the cursor inside the ItemClickHandler method, and put in a trace command this time, and report the event object's label property like this. ItemClicked, put in a literal string of ItemClicked, then concatenate to that event.label. Save your changes, remove the breakpoint, once again run the application in debug mode, and then as you interact with the menu, watch the console in FlexBuilder. I'll select an item, and I should see a trace message in the console reporting which menu item was selected. So that's how we use the FlexNativeMenu component to generate a native menu that's part of the application. Its advantage over the standard native menu class is that you can declare it in MXML, whereas the standard native menu object can only be declared in ActionScript. Also, you can dynamically populate the native menu object from XML formatted data that you can either hard-code in your application or retrieve at runtime, perhaps using HTTP service or some other data retrieval method.